one-tricking BAP. That's that. Like I full swapped from hit scan completely to BAP because I was just like I was tired of the queues, and the queues were faster for support at the time because I was GM4 support when I started playing it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, fuck it. And then I um I have a 70% win rate on the character after like 116 games.
Okay.
Um, so I don't like the issue that I'm having is because of our I've had 13 sessions with you
Mm-hmm.
all on DPS. So like my mind frame, I don't my rotations feel slow, and then um I don't know if like I've watched too much awkward content or not because
Okay.
I don't know if I'm like doing I don't know if I'm like not paying attention enough to like my peel or my backline or things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know if I am actually effectively doing enough damage. And the other thing is like because I want to try to get top 10 because I'm genuinely having fun on BAP. I have no interest in like learning Kiriko or Brig or anything like that because I'm not trying to play an Overwatch League, but I do want top 10. That's like a thing for next season for me because Brian and I are taking some time off, so I've got time to play the game again.
Okay.
And that's like I think it's doable just because of what I've been able to do on my own without basically having any kind of prior knowledge of how to play the character. Uh, so but the replay code I've got two. Would you rather watch a circuit or Midtown?
Whichever one you prefer. I really don't care.
Okay. Um, I struggle playing in the ball widow comps,
Okay.
which is like obviously that's but I don't know if what I'm doing is correct because I don't have enough playtime on the role. So I don't know if I'm like soft throwing games because of the way I've learned how to play DPS.
Okay. Well, I need the code.
Yeah, give me 1 second. It is. Let's do midtown. So it's I'll just send it to you.
There we go. The screen share should be live. Okay, so this is basically going from top 300 BEP to top 10 BEP.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
What was your in-game name again?
Phyllis.
Okay, there we go.
And
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like my MMR or what's going on, but I had like the last two cards. So I've played like 25 games, and every single game is like a top 250 game.
Okay.
And I've fallen out of top 500. I'm still GM1, but I've fallen out of top 500.
Mm-hmm.
And I just like so their Ash is Lorixed on a Smurf, and he peaked rank 1 and finished rank 1 2 seasons ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how to like. I'm tired of having a 50% win rate at GM1. And I don't, like I said earlier, I don't know if it's because my rotations are too slow or like if it's just a mechanic diff or what.
But only one way to find out.
Yeah.
Just keep in mind that obviously with as the player base size within your rank starts to go down and you climb higher, matchmaking is going to lose its accuracy. How long are your queue times?
20 minutes.
Yeah. It's
trying
trying.
ridiculous. And I also play like I've been playing more at night here. So like last night I waited 14 minutes for this game.
Yeah, it's trying pretty hard to get you a decent match.
Like the other day, I don't know if you know who Ace T Killer is.
I have no clue.
He motherfucker's top 10 on PC and Xbox. And
Ooh.
I was in his game and I was like, what the fuck is this?
Okay. Okay. Playing this very, very slow. Why did you play that start so slow?
So I guess I've just been conditioned to like this is how I've always played the map at a high SR because I've always been told like this is another problem is because I'm fresh at
Mm-hmm.
this SR. So
Yeah.
there's a whole bunch. I'm playing the game with a whole bunch of people who have been 4,500 for fucking 3 years,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll all tell me to play like on this map specifically on this point. You play stairs because they have to walk into you, and then you just wait for them to peek, and then you shit on them. But again, I think that might be like a DPS mindset for me. Um, whereas with this, I don't know if I'm supposed to be taking chip damage. Like, in essence, the answer is I have zero fucking clue. It's just what I thought I'm supposed to be doing.
Okay, because I mean, you do see how your own positioning isn't quite in line with what your team is doing, right? I mean, even
Yeah,
your Ana is in a more aggressive position. Why do you think that is?
so she can land antes and get value. I'm
Right,
AFK. Yeah, okay,
right. Like
makes sense.
we're at a point now where, you know, when we try to compare like a top 300 player with a top 10 player, the differences become very marginal, right? It's the difference between who can get their ultimate like 3 seconds earlier. Honestly, that can decide team fights. There are so many fights that you lose because you had 95% ult charge, and the enemy team could just engage on you before, right? So even if you land 1 or 2 shots here on the enemy team, even if you can like just scout a little bit, if you can show some presence, that's already disruptive for the enemy team. Whereas here it feels like you're giving, like, this is a very respectful position,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. But if you want to be top 10, you're the one who commands respect and
Okay.
doesn't hand it out. So yeah, this is just like really, really conservative. And the issue is that if your entire team is on board, then this could be a strategy, right? Something to play around. But your team isn't on board. So you have a tracer for some reason. The pick doesn't make any sense. But she postures very, very aggressively, right? She's trying to do stuff. And these kinds of plays, they don't always work out, but there's something that we can capitalize on. Because when your teammates play very, very aggressively, or when you see one of your teammates playing very aggressively, you always need to remind yourself that, okay, all eyes are going to be on them. As long as that teammate is aggressive, I can do whatever I want. Right?
Okay.
Like that Hanzo here is not scared at all. He's behind a Reinhardt. He knows that his Tracer just jumped in. People are going to be focusing her, right? I don't know what the enemy team is doing, right? The Ashe is like vibing over here. The Hanzo is vibing all the way over here. We can afford to be a little bit more attention grabbing, I guess.
So is that why like GM3 games feel like I'm playing against fucking bots because I can just do whatever I want because they don't look at us like
Basically, yes.
okay.
Basically, you of course, I'm not saying that you should play reckless, right? But respect needs to be earned, and the enemy team hasn't done anything yet to really like earn that respect. So just playing
Okay.
like really, really passive from the get go is like you already have like zero tempo.
So and I have another question. This is like a psychological thing.
Yes.
Because when I loaded into this game, I saw that they had Lorix, and I feel like that affects my decision making because I like we all know each other and I know who I'm playing into, so I know who's good or not.
Mm-hmm.
And like how do I come? How do I just not give a fuck who I'm playing against? You know what I mean? Like how do I not let that influence my like if I know I'm playing into a like Ace for instance, if I'm playing into Ace, I'm just I feel like I've got like a straight jacket on, bro. Like I just am afraid to peek everything.
But what are you worried about?
Dying and losing.
And why is that a problem?
Uh
I mean, you're
I
not
want
really.
people
I
to
mean,
yeah,
look,
okay,
you're
I
not
get
really.
what's
You're
yeah.
not really happy with where you're at right now,
Right.
right? You want to go. You want to go further. And the only way that you can get there is by figuring out what you can get away with, right? How much more value can you generate? How much more pressure can you apply, right? How much more can you pop off before you kind of cross that threshold where aggressive play just turns into outright feeding, right? But we're not quite at that border yet. There's still room for us to kind of grow into.
Okay.
And the thing is you lack confidence, which basically means that you're like almost scared of embarrassing yourself?
Yeah, well, because and that's like I said, man. I'm new to like. I don't want to say I'm new to being good at the game because I feel like obviously anyone's gonna ask me, I'm gonna tell them I'm good at the game. But I'm new to being one of the best in North America, right? So when I get these little shitters that are because Xbox is super clicky, or well, console rather, and I'm so afraid of being flamed, bro, because they just like these kids talk all kinds of shit on Twitter, and I think a lot of it has to do with my brother because if anyone finds out who I am, kind of thing, like, so I just need to get over that because that's so basically what you're saying is I need to not like necessarily smurf, but like play like a smurf, but I need to continue to limit test.
Pretty much, you can't be afraid. So what sets high level players apart is that they're never quite. They never feel like they have solved the game, right?
Okay.
They always have this very, very fundamental belief that there is something they're not seeing. That there's, that the Overwatch player, the top Overwatch player, like 5 years from now, if he could travel back in time, or she, and play like ranked games now, they would absolutely shit on everyone. I mean, if you take like the rank 1 player today and you put him into games from 5 years ago, it wouldn't be funny. Like it would be just stump after stump after stump, right? And truly believing that there's like still stuff to figure out, and there's still stuff to figure out for these people that you respect, right? Like when you queue into people like this, they haven't solved the game either. And anyone who thinks they have solved the game is going to stagnate, and they're going to be overtaken, right? Like you inting games right now isn't like really that relevant. There's in a different game in League of Legends, there's a very, very famous streamer called the Baus FF, and he had a very, very, he kind of looked at the game and he was thinking of ways, to maybe try something new, right? And without going into the details of it, he started using his life in game almost like a resource. Like he basically said, does it really matter if I die? Right? Okay, like if I die, I'm gonna give the enemy team some gold, right? But that's it, right? So if I die, but I get a bunch of kills while I'm dead, or I get a bunch of objectives while I'm dead, like that's fine, right? And obviously that's like hella throw, right? Like when he started doing that, he literally told stories of like literally having account after account suspended because he would just get spam reported, right? But in doing so, he really, really perfected that strategy, right? And he would literally have games where his score was like 0-18, right? 18 deaths, 0 kills, but he was hard carrying because he realized that he doesn't need to kill people and he doesn't need to stay alive to win the game. He just needs to play the objective, right? And then eventually, he reached the highest ranks, right? He reached Challenger, he played in Korea, he did like all of this stuff, right? And now he's like, he used to get reported for throwing, and now he's like a huge streamer and a huge innovator, right? And people look at it and they say, oh, damn, like he really discovered something here, to the point where the developers of League actually had to create a patch that, again, without going too much into details, it's 40% less turret damage during his passive, whatever. They basically made a patch against him. Like literally
to nerf him as a player.
Against him, right? They basically, because he was going for objectives by abusing his passive, where he could like keep dealing damage after he was dead, basically. And they changed it so that he would deal 40% less damage while he was dead to objectives. So he couldn't just die and destroy objectives on the map, right? But he was feeding, right? Like all of those people thought that he was feeding, right? Yeah. And you shouldn't be scared of experimenting with stuff, even when you're already at a higher rank. Because we're not trying to be the best player right now. We're trying to be the best player like 6 months from now. And the only way you get there is if past you was willing to try stuff out and wasn't scared of, being called a thrower by his team. And that never changes, even when you get into OWL or something, People have to try stuff out. Because
And then
you
this
guys
right here
have
is what I
zero
mean.
tempo. Yeah, this is
Yeah,
over.
this right here is what I was talking about. Like, is my rotation too slow? Because like I feel
No,
like
you
if I'd
had
have started
no. The
that,
moment that Tracer died, you had zero tempo. Like basically, the
okay,
only thing your team could have done there is just give up a ton of space, start falling back, stabilize, wait until Tracer is back. She can come back from spawn very quickly with blinks, and then try to go for a recon test. But outside of that, there's not much you could have done there. Again, it's the problem there was like kind of just giving up from the get-go and just being passive on those stairs and chilling and just praying that someone carries you. But again, if we want to be rank 1, we can't wait for people to carry us. We need to be the one doing the carrying. Okay, you have Zarya now.
and that's the other thing. I don't know how to adapt like my playstyle to certain comps. I kind of just do the same. Like I just play the same way.
Well, right now
Which
your
I don't
team
know
is
if
getting... So your team compute doesn't really make like too much sense. And you're playing into an Ashe Hanzo, which kind of limits your ability to peak a little bit.
You're gonna see something crazy, and I have a question about it here in 2 team fights.
Okay. Like you're also not weaving in between your healing nades.
What is that? I don't know what that means.
No, when you like heal and then you fire a shot in between heals.
Okay.
That's called weaving. You know how that works, right?
You just like you just alternate your fires.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. And you're not doing that. You're like so worried about kind of stabilizing your team. You're not really putting up a fight, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Okay, but we're close.
Yeah,
to
I don't weave my shots a whole lot, which is like
you have to do that.
Yeah.
Not a single top 500 Baptiste I know who on PC who doesn't do that.
That's crazy, man. See, that's
because you don't lose anything.
How did I get this fucking high on this character without knowing something like that?
There you go.
Because I solo queue. That's like
it's not a like HPS loss. Also, this is like see, this is such. What is this ult placement? What message are you trying to send here?
I'm gonna be real. I thought I could just break the bubble and kill her.
Right, but that doesn't explain the placement. Why is it so far back? Or so close to you, rather? Why aren't you placing it further out?
Well, now I will moving forward, and I understand why that's so. Like I've always been. The way I've always played this character, I play very selfishly. Like I use lamp on myself, and when I window, I always window at my feet, so I can shoot through it. Because
but you can like, also shoot through it if it's in front of the Zarya.
What I'm always worried about, and probably the biggest reason I've conditioned myself to put it at my feet, is because if I get like dove, I want to be able to walk through it and shoot back the other way.
Who's going to dive you here? See, that's the thing. Your
like I don't pay attention to the team comp.
Is like is a tempo play. Like when you use window, and the Zarya realizes she's standing in front of a bub window. Like she's going to go into survival mode, right?
Right.
Like she doesn't really look at the Baptiste window and says, "Oh, I'm gonna face tank that." Like Baptiste window is broken; it deals so much damage, even if it's just you shooting through it, right? So you need to understand that when you use your Baptiste window, the enemy team is going to play defensive, right? They're going to try to hide from it. They're going to try to wait it out, usually, which means that we need to chase after them. We need to go for the aggressive tempo play, which means that after we ult, we ideally want to run the enemy team down. But what you're doing here is you're cock blocking yourself. Because now you have two options, right? You can stay back here and shoot through your window, but then people are just going to run away from you. Or you chase after them, but then you leave your window behind.
That actually is so fucking huge. Yeah, because there's a lot of times where I'll use window to solo ult people, and then I'll just leave it. Because put it at my feet. So that's okay, that makes sense.
Like
That's
right
awesome.
here, I would have placed it instead of here. I'd have placed it like right here in front of the Zarya
pole.
like this, right?
Yeah.
Because then, right, the enemy team runs away. You could have given chase, and look, you could stand here and you could keep shooting through your window. If it's if it was here, like this, right? But look at you, look at you. You're like stuck.
Yeah.
Look, your team is like look at what you're on it. Like, do any of these people give a shit about your window?
No.
Right? They're trying to run the enemy team down. And even you leave your window behind, and it's just this sack of shit like in the back.
Okay. Yeah.
You're not Reinhardt. You can't move your big thingy with you.
Yeah.
You have to be a little bit more proactive. If you want to chase the enemy down with your window, you better place it in a position that allows forward movement.
Yeah, that's a concept that I never have considered.
There you go.
There you go.
Okay, so they still have the Mercy Pocketed Ash, they still have the Hanzo, which kind of limits how aggressive we can play. But see, now you're weaving. Now we're getting into it. Ooh, why didn't you?
Yeah, so this right here, this is what I was going to ask you. Is this a mistake, or is it just because proxy's cracked?
Is what a mistake?
Me double peeking back up to the high ground.
No, you jumping up here is not the mistake. What is the mistake?
Okay. No sense of general cover.
No.
Or natural cover.
No. What did your team just do?
We grab.
Right. That's a tempo play. That's an aggressive play, right? This is your winning moment. You want to win off of this grab, right?
Right.
But your teammates are worried because they're getting shot at by an Ashe and a Hanzo. So they need to, once again, make a choice. Do they ignore the Ashe and the Hanzo and they shoot at the people in the graph, but then they're going to die? Or do they hide, in which case the graph was wasted? Do you see how that's kind of a dilemma?
Yeah.
Now what could we do?
Lamp them.
We could just lamp them.
Yeah.
Just plop down a lamp. Your soldier would have lived. You would have lived. Your Zarya could have just ran in. You could have shot in there. Soldier could have shot in there. The enemy team would be dead.
So I need to be more proactive with the cooldown instead of reactive.
You can be reactive, right? If the enemy team grabs you, then of course you want to use it defensively.
Right.
But if your team lands like a big grab and you know, okay, like if we just shoot into this grab, this team fight is going to be won in 5 seconds. Just there's no point in saving your immortality field. When the entire enemy team is dead, you don't need your immortality field anyway, so you might as well use it now to win the team fight.
Okay.
It's the same thing with your window, right? Imagine you place a window and you really want your team to abuse the heck out of that window. There's no better safety net than using your window and then just plopping your immortality field right next to it.
Okay.
And then your teammates can just stand behind the window. They know that they're not going, that they literally can't die, and they can just stand still and DPS through your window and mow them down. Your immortality field is just as much an offensive tool as it is a defensive tool.
Okay. Yeah, like sometimes I'll use it to like. I actually got in a fight with someone in game chat the other day about that. About like they flamed me because I used lamp in the first 3 seconds, and I was like, yeah, I threw it around a corner so I could peek the corner and try to kill someone.
Well, yeah. So you want to like obviously be careful, right? Because you only want to use your immo aggressively or offensively if you're confident that during the immortality field's duration, you're actually going to acquire an advantage big enough to guarantee you win the team fight. Right?
Right.
So we don't just want to randomly lamp to like because we think we can solo kill a Hanzo or something, right? That would be like really risky because there's so much stuff that could go wrong. The Hanzo could get healed, we could miss our shots, right? That wouldn't work. But right there with the grav, that's like a very high percentage play. That's a pretty done deal. Right? So there's very little risk involved with you using your immortality field like that. So you need to find that balance. You only want to use your immortality field offensively if you're confident that that offensive play is going to close out the team fight, if that makes sense. Okay, and this is a regroup angle. Yeah, just run out. Okay. We have another window in 40. Tracer is a little low HP. The Tracer has pulse, so she can contest high ground with that.
Those fucking pissed me off. I should have just, man.
Oh, big damage.
Mechanical
Yo.
error. Yeah. Mechanical error. Operator error.
Just get into the habit of destroying these fucking rails.
Yeah.
They are nothing but trouble. Also, this is like an excellent example of a team fight where we're very close to having our ultimate. The biggest problem there is that the enemy team engaged on you, right? I think your Tracer was trying to do something, right? Like with the pulse bomb, but she's bad. Your soldier didn't quite get his ultimate. The problem here is just that the enemy team is, like, throughout this entire game, the enemy team is just really proactive. And obviously you can't control how proactive your teammates are. We can just use our immortality field to enable proactive plays from our teammates, like with the grab earlier, or we can use our window proactively, right? Okay. Or when we're in more of a neutral, like at the start of the game, we can also play more proactively by trying to apply some pressure, weaving our shots, getting some damage in, getting our ultimate as fast as possible.
Okay.
Okay, we have our window. I'm gonna bet you'll place it right in front of you. Please don't place it right in front of you. Oh, we're not placing it at all. Our team just grows.
Proud papa moment.
Okay, that works.
But then I peeked to try to go ego the challenge to Zarya, and I forgot about the Bob.
Yeah,
which isn't like a huge deal because we won the team fight anyway.
It doesn't matter. Your team is fine. You already have your ultimate, so you're not missing out on ult charge either. And the Zarya swapped anyways, so it's not a big deal.
We held right here, but then we fucking got rolled or attack.
So we have time for one more team fight. Let's see if you use your ult. Yeah, either you or Moira need to Koa here to engage. See, like, your positioning here is so... Like, where are you at? Do you see that? Do you see that Orisa right there? Do you see that Baptiste right there? What if we plop down our window, like right here, top of the stairs?
Wouldn't she just be able to walk through it though? That's what I'm afraid of. Like if I put it too far away from me, that they'll just be able to they'll just run through it.
She can walk through it. This guy can't.
Okay.
Right? If she walks through it, you can swap to someone else who's behind it. Right? Or keep in mind, is that really the end of the world if she runs through it? Because the thing is, if she runs through it, right? Does her team really want that? Do they want to run forward?
No, because they're on poke comp. That's the thing. They're not trying to brawl on point. Okay,
right. So you're forcing them into a really, really awkward fight if you do that. Plopping down a bub window in front of someone is just a huge free elo middle finger that you want to take advantage of.
Okay.
Okay. Do we have any final questions?
Just so to in closing, play more aggressively and use window better.
That's a TLDR, yes?
Yeah, okay. Cool.
That works.
Right on, man.
Okay.
Dude, it's always so cool. I'm gonna be real, I'm pretty sure that the way I got this rank is just by this full especially with the weaving thing, just confirms that I have watched too much awkward content and that I just try to kill everything I see. Yeah, okay.
Just cool. The fundamentals don't betray us. Sometimes we need to remind ourselves of the simple stuff, make sure everything is good there, and then everything else follows suit. Okay, perfect. Then
awesome,
if you have any